Hey. Welcome everyone to the first DPAC meeting of the new school year. My name is Amanda Woodhull and I'm the vice chair of SD42 DPAC for the current year. So we are the largest stakeholder of the SD42 education table. And we're also just a reminder that we're all volunteers doing the best we can. Sorry if it's speeding up. So I'd like to acknowledge that we're acknowledge and are grateful that the work of DPAC and our PACs take place on the untraditional and unceded territories of the Hul'qumi'num speaking people of the Katzie First Nation and Kwantlen First Nation. We also recognize all of our First Nations, Charter, Métis, Inuit students and their families in our school communities. We're committed to the ongoing process of reconciliation. It's just a reminder, September 30th marks Orange Shirt Day and National Truth and Reconciliation. However, it is a year-round ongoing endeavor to commit to truth and reconciliation. So this is the agenda that we have presented tonight. And what we'll do is move into adoption of the agenda on the next slide. And so if I didn't say it before, is that if all the DPAC reps can change their names to that they are DPAC rep and the school they're representing along with their name. And those are the ones who can actually vote in the various polls that we have tonight. So I'll just call for the motion that the agenda as presented be adopted as presented. Can I have a mover? And a seconder. And all in favor? Okay. And motion has passed. So we're going to skip this slide. We just had a delay on the June 16th minutes and make that available for everyone the next minutes or the next meeting. A little percent that it'll be carried. So as I mentioned, my name is Amanda Woodhull. I'm the vice chair of DPAC for the coming year, and I'll be chairing the meeting. As I'm not too sure if all of you are familiar with DPAC meetings, how they work, but we love to have presenters come and speak to things that are in our community or happening in our community or that are relevant, things that we think that that you would like to take back to your own PACs for more information or an opportunity to just share again our community activities. So we're delighted tonight to have Kim Dunmore here to speak about the Kiwanis Club of Golden Ears and some funding opportunities.
Thank you, Amanda. There's no N in do more or any dumb. It's just do more, just so you know. I am so privileged to be here today. Many of you know me as the past DPAC chair. I always say this is home to me. I love being at DPAC meetings because I came up through the ranks from my daughter in kindergarten all the way to the DPAC chair and now currently your school board trustee. But I'm here as the president of the Kiwanis Club of Golden Ears this evening. And we just really wanted to remind you that we are a small but mighty service club in the community that our primary objectives is to help young people in the community. And so We of course are always looking for volunteers. If you have spare time, we need you. But today I really wanted to talk about two things that we have available to the school district. So one is our Kiwanis extracurricular fund. And what it is an opportunity to support young people in the school district with extracurricular opportunities that they might not otherwise be able to attain or attend based on financial situation. So we have a pot of funds that we've allocated every quarter to children in Maple Ridge Pitt Meadows. And the application process can be found through the administration at your child's school. Also, the childcare workers are familiar with it, and we often get requests from EAs as well. And it's really just to help augment some of the expenses and financial pressures for family in the community. So it just has to be signed off by the school principal. It has been sent out to all staff this week, I believe, or all administration staff. Hopefully it's been disseminated to the rest of the staff, but really just reminding folks that we're here and available to support on things like 4-H or dance classes or arts programming at the Act Theatre or any of those little projects that are available. So up to $200 per student. And each family member would require a separate application. If you don't have it or don't have access to it, I'm always happy to share it, and I will put our email in the chat. And the second thing I would note is that our club has a little bit of extra funding this year that we would like to earmark towards literacy. And that doesn't really have barriers or boundaries yet. We haven't created a framework around it. So if your PACs are thinking that you'd like to bolster your libraries, there may be some book carts that are rolling out throughout the school, whatever that needs to look like. We've funded some inclusivity baskets at various different schools in the school district. So whatever that needs to look like for your school, please make sure you send a request to our club and we'll do our best to fulfill them. That's what I have to say about the Kiwanis Club. Thank you. I'll put our email address in the chat.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Kim, thanks very much for that. If anyone is interested, obviously get in touch with Kim. That sounds like a great opportunity. So thanks. And thanks for speaking today. I did want to just take a couple of minutes because we do have a new executive team this year. So I just thought it would be good to take a few minutes today and just introduce them. I think most of them are on the call, although you did see Chris come and go, but so we'll just go around the table. If I see them, is Paulina is our treasurer. She has been our treasurer for a couple of years. So we're delighted that she's back with us on that. We've got Craig Towers, who is a member at large. We've got Katie, who's our communications officer. And I'm just looking for anyone else, if there's anyone else on the call. Oh, we've got Alex, who's our new BC PAC or our DPAC to BC PAC rep. And he's kindly taking minutes for us tonight because we are still looking for a recording secretary. So, and I think that's all we've got. If I missed someone, did I miss someone? Anyways, so that is our.
Sorry, Amanda, Brian's here also.
Sorry,
Brian's here.
Sorry, Brian. So Brian is Stewart is also a new member at large for us as well. So thank you to all of our committee. And I'll just say that Trish is our chair of our group, but she's just out of the country this month. So that's why you've got me chairing and the rest of us all trying to muddle in as we try and fill the void well, Chris is still our member at large, but he's taken on a bigger role for PACs, being the president of BC PAC at this time this year. So as I mentioned before, is that we do love to have presentations, and so I just thought I would share a couple of the upcoming presentations that we do have in the books, but we're looking for other ideas as well. So we'll have a capital funding presentation by Flavia. She's the SD42 secretary and treasurer. She'll be joining us on November 9th. I know we're always interested on how schools get chosen or how they get upgraded, or new schools, or even some minor projects. So I know that we've been looking forward to having a presentation from Flavia, and so delighted that she'll be joining us on November 9th. Also on the books is that we're planning for a grade 8 registration. It's always a great one, and it draws a crowd of how that works. And so that is also being planned. Date to be determined, but it typically is early in the new year. And new last year, but super excited to have it being considered again by SD42 is a kindergarten registration. A lot of parents just don't know how to navigate the whole registration process for kindergarten. And so that's another one that's coming up. And just as I mentioned before, if there's other ideas, we're always looking for presenters or ideas. A lot of great information sharing occurs at the DPAC meetings, but we do like to focus and highlight on some of the presentations, similar to what Kim did for us tonight. So it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be overly scripted, but it just is more about information sharing. So as I said, if you do have ideas, please get in touch. Now we'll move to the next portion of our agenda, which is reports. And Harry Dillon is here to provide the first report for us. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, Amanda, and good evening, everyone. Kim's presentation is a nice segue into what we'll be focusing on this evening, and Deputy Superintendent Shannon Durenzi has joined me, and she'll be shortly providing an overview of the Student and Family Affordability Fund, and we'll be seeking your input as part of our planning process. But before we turn things over to Shannon, I'll make some comments on school startup, and DPAC executive has asked me to do a bit of a quick overview of the current communicable disease guidelines, as well as commenting on the question of staff shortages. So in terms of school opening, I feel I can report that overall, my sense is that school startup was uneventful and positive. Is the overall sense that I have, and I think it was nice for students and staff to be returning to a greater sense of normalcy. School startup is always exciting but busy, and certainly this year we've experienced, as we projected, continued growth. And I think all of you living in this community know full well that our community is growing, and so too is our enrollment. Just to give you a sense of how rapidly our enrollment is growing, our elementary school enrollment is up over 250 students compared to September 2021. Now, those 250 plus students didn't all materialize over the summer break. Much of that growth happened over the course of the last school year, but we certainly did see continued growth through May, June, and through the summer. And that is not a surprise. That growth is what we have projected. Now, in terms of secondary schools, we expect that there will be some growth there as well. And we don't have a solid sense of that yet. Certainly by the end of this week, we will have a more solid sense of that. And part of the reason for that is that it's not just about how many secondary students we have, but it's also about how many courses our grade 10, 11, and 12 students take. And the more courses they take, the more staffing that is generated for those students. The growth we've seen, as I said, is certainly aligned with what we've projected in our strategic facilities plan, and managing and accommodating enrollment growth is certainly a priority for us. And as Amanda shared, Flavia will be joining the DPAC meeting in November, and she'll be providing an overview of capital planning, capital funding, and she'll take any questions that folks may have. The second point that DPAC executive asked me to speak to is the current communicable disease guidelines. And I guess the first thing I'd like to highlight is the change in title. Over the past couple of years, the guidelines were titled COVID-19 Health and Safety Guidelines or variations of that. The current guidelines are with intention titled Communicable Disease Guidelines, and these guidelines are more broadly applicable. In other words, not solely for COVID-19 response measures. In terms of sort of what is the situation in our schools in terms of the guidelines, I think a nice way of putting it is students and staff have come back this September to what we were transitioning towards in June. And some of the key points I think I can highlight is the daily health check remains. You've seen in my communication that we're asking parents to ensure that children stay at home if they're sick. Certainly relaying that message, that same message to staff as well. Hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette remains a priority and is profiled in our schools by staff. Visitor access and community use of schools is back to the pre-COVID standard procedures. There's no restrictions on classroom and school learning environments. Some examples of that would be school assemblies and other gatherings, and certainly you will be aware that we were able to have normal grads in June. So there's a nice example of the fact that there are no longer restrictions on gatherings. Masks are a personal choice. And another point that we have incorporated under the guidelines is sharing items that touch the mouth. That is not to be taking place, and that certainly includes sharing of food and also musical instruments and things like that. Field trips is another question that comes up. Field trips, when it comes to field trips, we're back to standard policy and procedures and parent consent. The one added measure, though, that remains is that we do require risk management plans if the field trip is out of the Lower Mainland or certainly overnight. And the reason for that is that we need risk management plans in the event that the supervising staff fall ill. As you all know, if it's COVID, then you're in isolation for 5 days. And certainly if students fall ill while on field trips, if it is overnight or out of the Lower Mainland, we need to have well-defined risk management plans for such field trips. And if you have further questions around the guidelines and how they're implemented in your child's school, I would encourage you to speak with the school principal, and I'm sure they'll be happy to chat with you. But the guidelines, thankfully, have sort of allowed for more normalcy in our return to school this September, and I'm optimistically looking to the continued sort of settled nature of the environment in our schools. And finally, I'll comment on this question around staff shortages. And certainly over the last couple of years, we've had to deal with this, and it's been I would say, a significant strain on our system, both for student programming and for our workforce, teachers and support staff that work in our schools. The education sector is experiencing the same staffing challenges as many other sectors. And there is an overall shortage of teachers in BC. There's no question about that. Like our neighboring districts, we're especially challenged when we're in times of high staff illness. We simply don't have sufficient casual and TTOC or substitute teaching staff when teacher absences spike. And we certainly experienced that over the last couple of years. And as I said, during those times, and we went through, I would say, a period of 6 to 7 weeks during the Omicron wave during the last school year. And that had a significant impact in our schools. And I'm certainly hoping that we're not going to be experiencing that again, but it certainly was no different than what some of our neighboring districts experienced. And I'm sure you're well aware in some of our neighboring districts, schools had to be closed under that descriptor of functional closure. And a functional closure is simply a closure of a school because there aren't sufficient staff to ensure the safety and security of students, and certainly the instructional programming for students. We do have, I can proudly say that we have a strong partnership with SFU, and we have a growing partnership with UFV when it comes to teacher training programs. Last fall, we had 46 SFU student teachers finish their final practicums in December, and we hired over 30 of those new graduates in December 2021. And they were, most of them, working at some point during December, if not certainly come January. We are currently working with SFU on placement of up to 50 student teachers for this fall. And this fall would be that cohort's final practicum. So again, we're hoping for upwards of 50, and we're hoping that we'll be able to hire the vast majority of those 50 graduating teachers in December, which will certainly help us in our district. But overall, I would say that it is a province-wide challenge. We're certainly in a better position than most northern and otherwise remote school districts. But this shortage, and I've certainly spoken with Chris about this in his role as president of BC PAC, this is a provincial challenge, and it requires greater attention at the provincial level. But what I can say to you as parents is that we are certainly committed to making every effort with our recruitment and our retention strategies, but we are in a period of challenge. The supply and demand is simply working against us and other districts at this time. And on that note, I think I will now turn things over to Shannon if you're
Andre had a
ready to
question.
go.
Yeah, we just have one question. Harry, are you
Sure.
up for it, or do you want to take them after?
Oh, no, I'm happy to take the question.
Andre, did you want to?
Yeah, I did. I had a quick question. Harry, thank you very much for sharing what you shared. I'm currently running for city council, and I have been knocking on doors and talking to a number of parents. I appreciate what you had to say with respect to staff shortages. That's happening at my work. I'm here now. We have issues. I'm just finishing a union meeting that we just had, and that's a huge issue with trying to find and being able to hire new people. But you know, we have 200 homes in my neck of the woods over by Tuscanela being built, if not more, and homes being built all throughout our city. And so while we have a staff shortage, I feel like we're also going to be facing a major school shortage as well. You mentioned that there's a person, I don't know who it was, to whom I need to speak regarding the capital planning, because you said you're managing it well, but I'm not sure if that capital planning and building planning is up to speed with respect to the homes that are being built. exponentially in Maple Ridge. So we're going to see new people coming in here with young families, and we need schools. And so I don't know if that's, you're able to answer that, Harry, or the person you mentioned a name who might be able to give me a better answer, but that's where I'm coming from. So please, thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments. I mean, I live in the community. I've worked in the school district for 34 years. I see the growth. And as a starting point, I would suggest that you go to our district website and have a look at our updated strategic facilities plan. And I think you'll get a sense of the fact that we are on top of what this growth is, what is projected. But our challenge is that as a school district, we appeal to the Ministry of Education for capital funding. And I think the presentation in November will be, I think, really beneficial for you and for others. But in the meantime, I would encourage you to have a look at our strategic facilities plan, and you'll see where we have identified capital priorities. Some of the things that come to mind. Top of the list is a rebuild of Eric Langton to increase the capacity. On the books, we have expansions on our capital submission to the ministry for Harry Hoagie Elementary, for Blue Mountain Elementary. We have a new site in the East Albion area that is a part of our capital planning as well. So, you know, it is a challenge for us and for other districts, but it is the Ministry of Education that funds capital projects.
Thanks. If there's no further questions for Harry, maybe we'll move to Shannon's presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I have a very short PowerPoint for you. So hopefully somebody can share that PowerPoint as we go through it.
Did you send it over, Shannon?
I did. I sent it. Chris, I know, had it embedded because he sent it to me. Hopefully it's embedded.
Just give me 2 seconds.
Is it there? Does somebody have it?
No, I have it. So just a sec. Just
Okay.
I believe it was a part of this slide deck that you have.
Yeah, it was initially.
sorry, it's just me pausing things. Just a sec.
Oh.
It's a lag. There we go.
Great, and you can go right to the next slide here. So I am going to speak about this fund, and you've probably read about it in the news, and that the ministry, it was a $60 million total allocation to the province, and our share of that is 1.6 million. It is one-time only funding that must be spent by the end of June. So what we are in the process of doing right now is consultation. Once we've consulted with everyone, then we'll put a plan together, and then we will start spending the money. So in terms of consultation, we have all of our school principals have now at their first staff meeting discussed with the staff sort of what's already happening, what are the needs, what are the gaps. And so we'll be looking at that. As well, we're speaking with our Indigenous rights holders to determine the needs of our Indigenous students. We're speaking with you folks this evening to gather some information with our partners, so Salvation Army, the food bank, to get them to start thinking about, is there a way we can support them with the food and the services they are already providing our families and students, so we could perhaps strengthen that. The other criteria around these funds other than sort of doing some consultation, is to make sure that we somehow distribute the funds in a way that's stigma-free, or as stigma-free as possible, and that we're really focusing on equity as we do that. So like I said, we're in the beginning stages of our consultation, but because the monies have to be spent this year, we're going to move through this process as quickly as we can so that we can start getting the money out to families that could really benefit from it. So if you can go over to the next slide. So the money can be used in two ways: food security, so really even around access to healthier foods, and family assistance, and that's such things as clothing, school supplies, other such things. And the next couple of slides go into a little bit more detail on that. So if you want to move. So on food security, it is in addition. So we already have, thanks to our community partners, a fairly robust food program. And this, whatever we use this money for, needs to be in addition of that. So it really is about an add-on, making it better. And to use healthy or local foods wherever possible. The other thing we heard on that food security piece, particularly from our Indigenous ones, if we can really be sort of culturally sensitive to the needs of some of our families as we're considering that. And then the next slide is around family assistance. And again, the monies, as I mentioned, they can be used for things like supplies, shop projects, if you're going above and beyond what's kind of covered by the regular schools without, again, it's an addition to field trips, that sort of thing, supporting clothing and footwear. So these are the two areas we can use these funds for. And next slide, please. So as we're doing our consultation, because we knew right away things that would hit families would be school fees, food security, school supplies, we've started by providing $10 per student to every school to address any emergent needs. And that doesn't mean every child gets $10 towards something. That means we put that money together to support what might be needs that emerge within the school. And then what we did say to our schools, if emergent funds arise prior to us having put our plan together, just to contact their zone superintendent, and we could look at ensuring that happened as well. So just before I turn it over to you to ask questions, I wonder if there's any questions for either Harry or myself on what I just presented. And if, sorry.
Just if I could just add a couple of comments. We are, as Shannon said, trying to move forward as quickly as possible. This announcement, this funding announcement was made just a week before school starts. So school start is busy enough to begin with, but our goal is certainly to maximize this funding as best as possible. One added item, Shannon, I'd like to add before I turn it back to you for seeking feedback is last week I did seek and was granted approval by our Board of Education to utilize some surplus funds from our Community Link grant from the last school year to post a term-specific manager position to coordinate and manage the food security program for this school year. We, as you see, we have $1.6 million, and we are thinking that the vast majority of that will be going to food security, but we simply don't have an infrastructure to coordinate that. And so we have moved forward, and we're hoping to fill sooner rather than later. a position that would coordinate this service, this enhancement of service with our existing providers and or any others that we're able to secure. But it would be a position specific to this year because the funding is specific to this school year. And Shannon, back to you.
Thanks.
Harry, can I add also that one piece is that position is will also be looking for sources of continued funding so that we can hopefully create some sustainability to our program.
Absolutely, and that's embedded in the job description as well. So while it's a term specific position, one of the concerns we have is that we will be creating a level of dependency with this added funding this year, and our hope is that through the work of the manager and the outreach that we are able to undertake, that we're able to sustain some of these enhancements into the coming years. And hopefully the ministry will continue some of this funding because certainly the need is there. We all know that.
Any other questions or comments before we go to the very last slide of my presentation? All right, if you can just go to the next slide then, please. So really, we'd like to hear from you now. So knowing what you know about your community and your families in your school, what do you see are the priority needs that can be supported through this one-time fund? And I'll sort of offer 3 avenues for you. You can either, raise your hand right now and let us know right now, or put it in the chat. You could also, if you need a little bit of reflection time, because I certainly know that's what our food service providers asked for, is some reflection time. If you could send me an email with your thoughts for your school, that would also be helpful. So if you have any immediate responses, we'll take them now from you. Like I said, either as a chat or, just by raising your hand. I can't see everybody, but hopefully somebody can, or send me an email.
Shannon, can I ask a quick question?
Please.
Is this the only opportunity aside from emailing you that parents will have to provide input on this, or is there another avenue that'll come out as well to the general populace of the school district?
In terms of parents, you also have the avenue of speaking directly with the principal at your school. As Shannon mentioned, we've provided initial funding to school principals, but we're looking to, and the ministry actually acknowledges in their communication that it's going to be, they recognize it'll be school staff that are most connected with children and families that may have the greatest sense of where the needs are. But, I would encourage any of you as PAC representatives or as parents, reach out to the school principal and, they will be open to hearing from you, and that'll guide what they can do at the school level as well, because it will differ from school to school. We recognize that. I'm going to put your email in the chat, Shannon.
You want me to do that, or are you going to do that?
I've got it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Harry.
We have a comment from Craig.
Shannon, I don't know if it can be utilized because it has to kind of be an addition. I know you guys weren't looking at adding programs in addition. But one thing that we don't have is a lot of the schools don't have like breakfast programs, and we need to come up with a pilot project where it was like 1 month per school or a couple weeks per school, and really see the need. Because I would say every school probably has a need for it, but really kind of take that pilot project as a test to see if we can add additional services. I know Superstore, for example, has a program to do support breakfast programs if they're already in place. And we just looked tonight, and there's no schools in Maple Ridge that use their service. Lots in Surrey, and one in Mission. So, but none in Maple Ridge.
Was that Save On you said, or?
Superstore, they have a grant program.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of thing we're looking for, because most of our schools have some kind of breakfast program or lunch program, but perhaps not as robust as they should be. And that's the kind of thing we're looking at. And I would say of the few schools I've heard from already, I would say that's predominantly what I'm hearing is either enrich the lunch program with like more fruits and vegetables, or many programs have like a twice a week breakfast program and they would like to see it more days of the week, that sort of thing. Thank you. And I'll look into the Superstore thing as well. I had not heard of that.
Thanks. I'll send you the link on that.
Thank you.
Christine, did you have a comment?
Yeah, in previous years when Westview have had a breakfast program and it was by nomination, it was very poorly attended. When it was opened up, and as you just said, stigma-free, that's when it was used. It's very hard to gear something like this at specific kids and then not expect them to feel stigmatized.
Yeah, I agree. I can't imagine doing a breakfast program or a lunch program that's just not open to everyone. For that very reason, there's other options. The high schools are quite easy because they have lunch cards, so you can easily identify students to give a lunch card to that looks like every other student's lunch card. I think the other possibilities there are perhaps buying, Save on Foods cards for families, those kinds of things as well.
If there's no further comments, Shannon, did you want? And are you done? Shall we move on? So please take advantage of Shannon's offer to contact her, and if you want to mull it over with your PACs as well. I'm sure there's additional ideas that could be shared.
Yeah, thank you very much. And please, as you think of things, send them my way. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Shannon, and thanks, Harry, for your previous discussion. So next up is a present or some words from our trustees. So I know we have a number of you on: Mike, Kim, Elaine, Katie. It is one of you talking
offered,
tonight? Is it Mike tonight?
We had some text exchanges earlier today, and I drew the long straw so that I could do the presentation tonight. So
welcome.
Sure, my colleagues will jump in if I miss anything. Before I go on, though, I just wondered, Shannon, is there a time frame on when you need comments?
Thanks for asking that. I would love them by the end of next week if possible. So we're trying, like I said, we're trying to put our plan together fairly quickly. So,
well, the quicker we get the plan together, the quicker we can get some money out the door doing some good things. So that's really, really, really important. I know that was part of the discussion when we talked about this at the board table. And of course, we're also concerned about this being a one-year program, but we're hoping that what some of the results demonstrate is the need for that provincial and federal funding on a universal food program that I know Trustee Dumore and others are so keen on and continuously talking about, as they should be. So we are hoping that out of this will come some things that really reinforce the need for that. So I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, Harry and Shannon have talked about the real important things, getting schools started and how we're addressing some of the day-to-day operational issues with teacher shortages and so on. But there's a couple of things that come into us in September, or one that came in September that is an annual report. It's our Supporting All Learners report. And it's a really, really critical piece of work that staff do. Identifying basically the results of the last couple of years, and in terms of both intellectual development and health and wellness of our student population. The reason the report is so important is because it's what informs the next step of our planning for school growth plans, for planning within individual classrooms and so on. Because the results that are collated in that Supporting All Learners report are derived from the results from individual schools. So those individual school results are really helpful and really do inform the school growth planning. And so that it really drives any areas where we see that perhaps need a little more attention, bubble up in this report. And it's very helpful for not only the board, but of course, all of the district staff to be able to see that. Now that report is available on our website as well. And so if anybody wants to have a look, be more than welcome to do that. I'm not going to talk about any of the individual results. You can have a look yourself. And of course, if you have any questions, raise those with trustees or with senior staff. But it's a pretty critical thing that we do each year. The other thing that I wanted to refer to was a report that we received, not this meeting, but a previous meeting. And it was, I'm going to read the entire title of the report because I think it's been, if I can find it here, I had it in front of me just a second ago. Yeah. The report is called Deepening Indigenous Education and Supporting the Holistic Success of Indigenous Learners, Families, and Communities in the Maple Ridge Pitt Meadows School District. It was a very significant report that when the board received it, and it's been made public. It outlines the input from hundreds of people who were interviewed by the researchers who come from UBC and SFU. And the result of that report is some 97 recommendations about how we can, all of us, do better in terms of addressing needs and enhancing our anti-Indigenous racism policies and so on. So it's really a critical report, and it took a couple of years to work through. So the research was very in-depth. It's one of the first in the province. All school districts, I think, are being encouraged to do it. Are they not, Harry, Shannon?
Yeah, it's more of a scan is the requirement. We certainly went much deeper than what ministry requires.
Well, there's no point in my view in doing a scan unless out of it you can come up with some recommendations and so on. And so basically what's happened is that the board received the report, asked lots of questions, but have now turned it back to senior staff to review and determine how and when and what within those 97 recommendations we're going to be able to move forward with. That report too is on our website. And so if this is at all of interest, please, I'd encourage you to have a look at it. It's a pretty important piece of work. And of course, it's the kind of thing, because it was so in depth and it's some 200 pages long, that it kind of gets overshadowed by the immediate of opening schools and all that kind of thing. But it too, just like the Supporting All Learners report, is a very important report that we've received. There were a number of other things that we talked about at our last meeting. We heard about a very successful summer learners program with Harry. I think it was 1,100 and I wrote a number down here. I hope it's right. 1,168 students having participated in summer learning this year, which is, I think, one of the larger numbers I've heard of in my time as trustee. So that's great. Obviously, families are finding it to be of value, and that's what we're trying to deliver here. I don't really have too much else to add to that, but Elaine or Kim, do you have anything else you'd like to share?
No, thank you, Mike. I think you covered everything from my point of view.
Mine as well, thanks. But you didn't say deferred maintenance.
I didn't talk because Flavia is coming. My gig is all about capital and trying to get the province to loosen the purse strings a little bit. But Flavia is the one who knows everything there is to know about this, and you're going to know it too because she's coming to talk to you. So I'm going to definitely be at that meeting so I can ask the question. Thanks.
We're definitely going to look forward to. Thanks, Mike, for the chat. And yes, absolutely looking forward to that Flavia conversation. So, and thanks for the other trustees for being on the call tonight. So we, as you can see, we do have a number or the school trustees are always a huge part of obviously running our school district. We have a number with the elections coming up, a number of people who are looking to renew, as well as some new names. So do encourage you to get out and vote. When it comes around to the election time in October 15th, having a great school trustee team is obviously so important for us in SD42. So thanks. Now move over to the MRTA, though I don't know if I saw Trevor on the call. Is anyone here from MRTA? Okay, going once, going twice. Over to QP, and I do know we have two QP reps. Christine, or I thought I saw someone else. Oh, it's Suzanne. Sorry, Christine, Suzanne. Did either of you have a small report?
I just, my report's really short in comparison to the previous ones. However, it's still important. We felt it would be a good idea to let you know about the PAC at Pitt Meadows Elementary, paying $12,000 for the painting of a room, which the service could have been done by our members for a lot less money, even on overtime. So we feel that the hard-earned fundraising funds could have been put to better use. Perhaps sending out a reminder to the PACs, committees rather, to reach out to the principals prior to ordering services, which could be done in-house and for a lot less, because we understand how difficult and challenging it is to raise these funds, and that's a lot of money. That's all I have, unless Christine has something to add. Christine?
And just to clarify, maintenance couldn't have done it in their regular schedule, but they could have put a bid in for it for a lot less and been able to do it at the weekends. So bear that in mind if there's any projects that can't fit in with regular maintenance but could still be carried out by QP members in overtime at the weekend. When there's no profit margin, they're obviously going to come in with a lower price. And any jobs would probably be done at the weekends anyway, because they wouldn't be being done when school was on. In terms of the union itself, the employer continues to hire more people. We've grown to over 900 members. And if Roxanne keeps interviewing people as fast as she is doing at the moment, we will be over 1,000 before the end of the year.
Yeah.
And yes, Harry's right. There has been quite a bit of absence, and we are doing our best with the staffing we have. Most people, myself included, are glad to be back at work and glad to see the children in school and not online.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Christine and Suzanne. Up next is the Maple Ridge Principals and Vice Principal, Grant or Chad, although I didn't see them on the call. Okay. So over to Paulina for our treasurer's report.
Hello, everyone. So as of September 14th, 2022, our gaming account sits at $6,193.36. Our general account sits at $4,740.15 for a total of $10,933.51. Just a reminder to everyone that if your year end is June 30th, your gaming account summary reports are due by September 30th. That's all.
Thanks, Paulina. So we'll just move into old business. Our only old business is that we still have a vacancy, a recording secretary, which is a huge critical role to the proper and efficient running of the DPAC, as well as a lot more efficient and effective running on the meetings as well. So I'll just ask if there's anyone from the floor that would like to, or if there's any names that we can follow up with if you're interested in it. I guess please help us. No names. I can't twist any arms. Okay, well, thank you for the consideration. Please do go back to your PACs, parents, and please do let us know if there is someone. As I said, it is a critical role for, we get more timely minutes and all those other sorts of things, and it is a critical role for a PAC to run, as you well know, running your own PACs. So I'll just say thanks in advance for your consideration. So moving on to new business, one of the things that we would look to chat about, sorry, I'm not too sure why it keeps auto forwarding. Someone's put something in there that makes it auto forward. So anyways, we'll just quickly go on to it. But is DPAC meetings and the location. So as we all know, during COVID, we pivoted to running everything via Zoom and continue to do that last year. Now with more PACs going back into the school, we want to open up that conversation again of whether or not we want to consider doing in-person meetings for DPAC. There's a couple of different options, right? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It could be a combination. It could be sporadic. So we are interested in receiving feedback for that. Do we want to take, or does everyone have some info or initial instinct on what they want to do here? Is everyone more comfortable? The other thing is that we do plan to follow up with each DPAC rep. You're the ones who are attending, and actually ask them whether or not the ones who are not here tonight can contribute on whether or not they prefer in person or via Zoom. But I'll open it up if anyone has any particular comments or that they would like to share. If we're hearing none, then we'll move on to the next. Okay. Well, it will be a very quick and simple survey. It will essentially say, stay Zoom, do hybrid, every other kind of thing, or go back to in person. So but everyone has obviously personal opinions, and we'd like to go with the majority when we're doing that. So thank you. So the next one, if it was on the previous screen, was a PAC fundraising opportunity, and I'll pass it over to Craig Towers to present.
Thank you, Amanda. Jesse should be signing on in a few minutes if he hasn't already from Rotary. Okay, so I've been in touch with Rotary. Rotary's presented a fundraiser for us. They did present this a couple of years back, and I think it was actually during COVID, so it didn't take off the same. What we're hoping to do is do an online auction between October would be when we start putting PACs together that are interested in participating, and then with the draws happening in December, finishing just before Christmas. And then a 50-50 running online at the same time. and that would lead to a draw on New Year's Eve. What we're hoping to do is get or identify 10 to 12, up to 15 packs, or as many as possible. But ideally, if we can get between 10 and 15 packs that are interested in going in on this. And the idea would be that each pack would have to come up with a $500 prize. So that could be done through sponsors. It could be directly funded by the pack itself. They could provide, so what we'll do is we'll come up with a list of themes so that everybody's not buying the same prize or hitting the same locations for sponsors. And then each pack will choose a theme that they would set up their prize to be. And then we know that there's some smaller schools or some schools that may not be able to put that much effort into coming up with a $500 prize. So what we thought is that we could put some spaces where two schools could come together and do $250 each, but then they would split what one school providing the $500 prize would have got for funding or for profit. So then that at the end of it, the money would for the 50-50, half it would go to the winner. And half of it would be then divided up. There's a small service fee for the online auctioning. There might be some costs related, and then it would be divided between the packs that participated. It's set up very similar to the duck race that Rotary puts on. And then Rotary has presented that there's two options: is we can either do all of the gaming stuff ourselves and be sponsored by Rotary, or Rotary can do all the licenses and stuff, and then it's a Rotary run program. Let's see if there's anything I've missed here. So for the license, we do need to get that in soon, and we're just trying to identify if we can get that in without having all the identified schools, and just putting so maybe like selecting a number of schools. So maybe it's going to be 12, and then everybody applies to that. And then once we hit our 12 schools, then that's it for this year. If they do need to know all the schools, then we have to identify those schools much faster, because it could be up to 2 months to get that gaming license. So we are hoping to get that gaming license in pretty quick. We'll send out an email from DPAC to all the PAC reps in the upcoming days, just to find out interest, and then commitment as well. Yeah, I think that's all that I have right now. And is Jesse online yet? Oh, there he is. Yes. Jesse's going to share some links of what the online profile would look like. Just going to share those in the chat as well. And Jesse, there you go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Sir Craig. Yeah, this is something that was discussed a while back there. I think I know some of the individuals on this line. Hi to everybody. By the way, my name is Jesse. I used to be the executive director for the Chamber of Maple Ridge Pitt Meadows. Now I'm the Chamber of Commerce executive director for the Mission Chamber of Commerce. I'm part of the Rotary Club here in Maple Ridge, the Rotary Club of Haney. We've been doing quite a few online events and helping a lot of nonprofits. And I'm, my kids in school, I'm pretty passionate about the school system there. So this is where this is kind of coming from. But this is something where I guess when we first started discussing it, would be something either strictly just through DPAC, or there's an opportunity, as Craig was alluding to, that it could go through the Rotary channels. Which we're going to be in discussion here soon on that, based on some of the feedback here, which we're going to go on that. I've helped quite a few organizations in the past 2 or 3 years, especially online. I've been in the event space for about 20 years. So actually, we got Mike Murray's on here. He's on my Rotary Club, and we just did work together on a few online events as well too. So he's very familiar with this space. He worked with me really closely on that too. When Craig, I'm sure most of you have probably heard about the duck race, especially the online version. This is something very, very similar to that concept, where the PACs would get involved. And I'll show you some of the links here. Are you going to be able to click on those links, Craig, or do I need to do that? Or
Yeah, I think Amanda should be able to pull that up.
just so I can give people a visual on what it would look like as first, right? Because this is going to be a strictly online event. There's nothing to do with in person on this. It's strictly online. And basically, it's the opportunity for schools to raise more funds, right? So, and I think it's a great opportunity for them. So, what I wanted to do was I sent 3 links to Craig on different ways that this could look, so you get an idea of the visual. Are they bringing it up, Craig, or are they?
I think Amanda's just working on
Yeah,
it
no,
right now.
sorry, I'm not going to. So if you want to share, if someone else wants to share, we can do it that way. I just can't do it on my end.
Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can click here and share my screen.
Yeah, I think it's just a good idea just to give everybody a bit of a visual before we get, before you get too much into it there, right? Then you can just judge the type of response that you're going to get from the PACs and see what the interest might be there from there. I think it's going to be, there's a lot of interest from other school districts, but obviously I'm from Maple Ridge, Pimento, so I wanted to definitely launch something like this out here and make it an annual event like they do with other events. Is it tough there, Chris? Or you got it there?
I think it's going up now.
Okay. So this is one of the events that we've done. Everything, by the way, can everybody see that? What's Craig put up there? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So this is something where this is all on one landing page of these events. I'm sure some of you may have already seen some of this activity. This is the Langley Rotary Club, which was one of the first ones that we started with about 3 years ago. They've been running with this. They do an excellent job. By the way, this is just a sample. Just to show you what it's going to look like. This isn't what we're going to do. This is a 50-50. We're going to do something a little bit different. But this is what it would look like. We would have some images at the front there. That can be overlapping like these ones are. So in this particular case, we would have some images maybe of students or whatever that could look like pertaining to the school system. And then as you scroll down there, gives you more information about the event. Now this event has concluded. So you're not going to see exactly what it looks like, but I just wanted you to see that main banner image area, what we're going to do. So we'd have a nice banner image at the top, which would be like all about the school district 42 or DPAC, whatever the branding could be. And if you scroll down there, then you get over here where this is presented by. This is where you can have some of your sponsors. We're going to have each school could actually individually have their own sponsors if they like. There's a lot of parents, obviously, from each school that would probably want to partake. And then as you get further down, you can have information about our supporters, where the funds might go to. You can just be general on that. And then on the right side is all the rules and all the information and all that too, right? So if you scroll down a bit, I just want to see what this looks like there. So once again, this is just more sponsors, where it goes to, as you're all probably familiar with. If you go back up to the top, just a little bit higher, right there. So, the Rotary Club here, we're heavily involved in with our sister club, Meadow Ridge, with the Starfish program. So, this is something that would look very similar to this. Now, once again, if you could click on the other link for a second there, Chris. The idea was just to show you what the banner and image and all that could look like for now. And I'm just going to get Chris to pull up the other link. Okay. So as you get into the event, this is when somebody is open to purchasing a ticket, whether it's a raffle or whether it's a 50-50, this is where they would go to from that first screen that you see in the banner. They'll say, click buy your tickets here. Then it would take them to here because obviously you need eligibility in British Columbia. They would click on this, the 3 little, I'm 19 years of age, and et cetera, et cetera. Then it would cursor down. If you want to scroll down, keep going down, it'll have their contact info to fill out, which is always straightforward, exactly the same thing. Credit card info, which is all easily done. But then you get to here. This is the main part here. So when so this is where all the schools that are participating would be listed here. So if I want to say I'm buying these tickets, but I want the money for my ticket to go towards, let's say, Alexander Robinson or Edith McDermott or whatever, the Pitt Meadows High School, I would click on there and the funds would go into that school, and then all the reporting would be all done in the back end. So that's what I wanted to show you on this. So the first screen that you saw with a nice banner, what it'll look like. This is what the ordering process is like. If you click out of there, Chris, for a second, and then I think if you scroll down, it's just basic stuff there again. Yeah. So you can go to the third link, and that's it. So up until now, you've seen like what the banner would look like, you know, where the sponsors, the beneficiaries, what the ordering process is. This one here is the duck race that just happened between my club and the other our sister club, Meadow Ridge. This was the duck race. It was strictly online. And so this is what your items would look like for raffles and prizes. So this is the third piece to the whole puzzle. Now remember, this is all on one landing page. So as you can see, this is what the prizes will look like. People will get to see what the items are and what they're going to be buying raffle tickets for. In this particular case, it was Mark's, Canadian Tire, Fuller Watson, you know, Meadow Gardens golf rounds, 10 rounds of golf, and et cetera, Haney Sewing and Sound. To the right, you get all the information. And over here, you also see they also did a 50-50. So they did a two-part event here. Part of it was a raffle, and the other part was a 50-50, right? So Mike, just very similar to what you and I had done, but we had done an online auction with a 50-50. This is a raffle with a 50-50. What we're proposing with DPAC is a raffle and a 50-50 because it's much easier to maintain, a lot less administrative as well too, right? So, and if you scroll down, once again, this is all what it'll look with the sponsors. So each school would have their sponsors, different levels of sponsors. Where it says Silver Duck sponsor, that could be the name of a school and their particular sponsors, so they get their credit for all that. And then we can also have main sponsors of the entire event, et cetera, right? So that's really about it. And that's really about it in a nutshell. Just picture all three of those links all on one page. So it starts off with a beautiful banner, starts up where you order the tickets, and then this is more of the but it shows you all this stuff first, and then you order the tickets and then the sponsors and all that too. So it's all on one page, very extremely user friendly, and it's all good. And it's, like I said, it's very easy to use, right? So we would actually, depending on which way once again, which way the which way, you know, if in fact this goes ahead, which way you would like to proceed with it, whether it's strictly 100% through DPAC, or if you want Rotary's involvement, which I'm going to be connecting. We do have a meeting set up here shortly on our fundraising coming up here, but I didn't bring this up yet because I didn't know if this was even going to be something that we would have wanted to discuss through Rotary, or if it was going to be just DPAC alone where I would help you manage it type thing, right? So, but this is it. And I think it's a huge opportunity for the schools to raise a lot of money quite easily. Thank you for that. And I think there's a huge opportunity. There is, you know, with myself being now not only affiliated with the Maple Ridge Pit Meadows here, but being the executive director for the Mission Chamber of Commerce, there's a lot of interest out that way, and it's some of the surrounding school districts. But I thought this would be great to test pilot here in SD42, make it a big splash and be the founding group for something like this, and then build upon it year after year after year, right? So this is something that the school system would look forward to every September, October. It would kind of be automatic, like the duck race and some of these other things. And then, you know what, they're just raising a lot of funds, right? So I don't know if there's any questions out there for now. There's going to be a lot more questions, but I wanted to just give you a good overview of that.
Thank you so much, Jesse, and thanks for sharing those screens with us.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I know there's one question here from Mike.
Yeah, I'm trying to find, can you hear me? I'm not sure whether
We can hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Jesse, I'm just wondering, how is the marketing going to be handled on that?
Sorry, say that again?
How is the marketing going to be handled on this?
Yeah, so great question on that too. So very similar to what we had done. This is something where there would be some sort of a partnership with the media as well, which is the newspaper here as well. The marketing on this is going to be done by the individual schools as well too. So think of it as the duck race, Mike, where each of the duck race participants, all the sporting groups, have their sets of tickets, and they got to get out there and sell it. In this particular case, the PACs will be putting it on the social media channels. They'll be able to promote it to the parents, and whatever means they would like to do that too. So I think I followed quite a few of the PACs on social media, and I think they all do a fantastic job of getting their messages out when they want to get anything to do with the school programming, or even when the principals are on it. And I think just that alone, when they can share it from there, the links to the event from there, I think that's going to be, you're not going to have to put a lot of money into marketing at all for that.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I mean, that Langley one was supported by a fairly extensive network for lotteries.
No, and that Langley one of them was a 50-50. This is an entirely different event where you got groups. That
I know, but you just showed it though, and the reason the numbers are as high as they were is because it went well beyond the community.
No, and the numbers were nothing to do. It was just to show what it could look like. Yeah, don't worry about the numbers. I mean, this group here might raise 20,000. That was a $200,000 one. That was just a 50-50 with a massive marketing power behind it. We're not going to get into that this year. That was just to show what the look of it would look like, right? So, and that was just a 50-50. So,
Thank you for your question, Mike. Andre has a question.
Yeah, Jesse, thank you for sharing these events. It's great. Anyways, we can raise some funds. Sorry, guys, I got my kids here. We're trying to do bedtime at the same time.
No problem.
You mentioned it was a Rotary thing that you're putting on through the Rotary. Will people from the Rotary also be sharing this on their social media as well? Is that one way we can kind of put it out there?
Yeah, no. So if Rotary is going to be a partner of whatever that could look like, 100%, of course. Yes, it would. It's like any type of partnership. The partnerships, the sponsors will always all support it, right? So depending on where that goes and what that looks like, of course, 100% they would, right? So now, I'm not going to lie to you. Where a lot of the success comes from these events is from our email marketing and our database that we have. The social media reach for Rotary is not that big, to be honest with you. We don't rely on that at all. And if you relied on that, we wouldn't be very successful. I do all the email marketing for all the events that I do, and I can, get you what we're currently working on right now. But that's where that would come in. So, and we have that database already. And that's what it would be. So it would be more from the sponsors, the partners, and Rotary, a combination of everybody, especially for the first year, to really get the message out there.
And then I'll just add to that we're going to work with Rotary, DPAC with Rotary, to come up with a sponsorship letter that every PAC will have, so they don't have to come up with their own, that would talk about Rotary and DPAC. And then they can add their school to it specifically. And then hopefully with the themes, we can disperse where we're seeking prizes from. So not everybody's going to the same stores or locations.
Yeah, so it's definitely different than what's out there. So I think this is kind of a first of a kind too, to do something like this with this kind of environment. So I think it'd be pretty exciting and a huge opportunity for schools to raise funds.
If there's no more questions, just stay tuned for email from DPAC that will go out to each PAC to identify participation.
Yeah, and I think at some point you're probably gonna, once the group kind of takes this and digests, there's gonna be a lot more questions. But we are running a few events right now that I could show live at another presentation that we need to do that I'm working with right now. Working right now with the BC Steelhead Association, as well as about 3 other Rotary groups on current events right now. And they're a combination of online auctions with raffles and 50-50s. So, but I find that the biggest success really is the partners and the email marketing that really brings in donors and people that are purchasing the tickets, right? So, but yeah, so I'd be more than happy to look at next steps if that's where they want, if you would like to go, and go from there.
Thanks again, Jesse. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, thanks for having me, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Craig and Jesse. Just moving on to information to share. We've got just a couple of different things. Is that the ATAC Sportswear offers online school stores for spirit wear that you're thinking about. The link, once the PowerPoint gets sent out, it's actually a clickable link to learn a little bit more in case your PACs are looking to do that. Cuban Cafe is offering 2 different types of programs for cupcake sales with 20% of the sales going into the school or the PAC. The other one is Dance Play 3 Education. They have bookings and whatnot to bring those into the schools as well. Community Action Team Knowledge Exchange is putting on a funding and grants webinar on September 29th at 12:30 for an hour and a half via Zoom. If your PAC is thinking about writing a grant application for potentially for a new playground or funding opportunities, active school, the various things, it's a good thing to attend and learn a little bit more. If you can just let us know and we can send you over the information. And the final thing that just information sharing is recently a communication was sent out to principals to making sure that that everyone is aware of the motion picture performances on school property, that SD42 does not have a license that extends out to the PACs, that it needs to meet a fairly rigorous criteria in order to do that. So they do recommend that if you are thinking about putting on or running movies or whatnot for PAC, for either for entertainment or for fundraising purposes, that you use the ACF studio for that. So, and I see Kim has a question.
Just a comment, Amanda. The Community Action Team grant webinar leans towards things related to the opioid crisis. So any granting webinars are a fabulous thing, but the Community Action Team is more related to substance education and the opioid crisis.
Good point. So but I still think it's good information to share, like even if you were looking at a grant or whatever, but thanks for clarifying that, Kim.
And we need substance education in school, so game on, please come.
That's true. That's true. Very good point. So then there's we stand with you through Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th. And then the additional reminder that PAC Zoom meetings are available through DPAC. It is first come, first serve. We only have a minimal. We have 2 licenses that we can help out. They are booking up quickly, but we're happy to share that if your PACs would like to run their meeting by Zoom. Next, and almost the final portion of the meeting is called the PAC Voice, where it's basically just a couple of minutes open discussion. If there's any things that are happening that you want to share in the community, often PACs will share an upcoming event that they would like to extend out to the community or anything else that's going on. So that's typical of what we share at the PAC Voice. If there's anyone have any comments or something to share? Nothing? Going on, moving, we're all talked out. Craig.
I was trying to find my hand there. I'm just going to advertise that Yenadin Elementary School will be doing their bingo night November 25th. So if anybody wants to mark their calendars and join us there. We had many people from outside of Yenadin join us. I think it was what, 3 years ago. When we did our last one, it was a great event.
Thanks. Anyone
When,
else?
sorry, when is it?
It's on November 25th in the evening. And we've got all our licenses for all the gaming and special events license to serve alcohol to parents. It'll be an adult only event.
Okay. I'm not hearing anyone else. We'll move on. And we'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a mover? Helena, thanks. And a seconder. Katie, thank you. You can just launch the poll. And all in favor? Great, motion's carried to adjourn the meeting. So thanks for attending this first meeting. We really appreciate you sticking with us all the way to almost 8:30. Hopefully we'll be a little quicker in the future. Next meeting is Wednesday, October 12th at 7 p.m. It's looking like it probably be by Zoom, but obviously we'll be getting input in case it does go pivot to in person. And those are the upcoming dates of our other DPAC meetings, along with our dinner and awards event that we always hold in May. Well, we had to take a hiatus during COVID, so we're excited to bring it back this year. And then the AGM on June 26th. So we look forward to seeing you on a regular basis. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, guys.